Hey, this is Johnny C coming at you with a budget DIY build. I'll tell you how much the light cost. I'll tell you what I use to keep my thermal management down. I'll show you which driver I used and what device I used to power the fans. These lights are 50 volt chips. They're 4K and one's 55K, both 50 volts, both 3000 milliamps, so that's 3 amp max, and they run right around 1 to 2 amps sweet spot. And this light is phenomenal. I mean, the chips blow out CXB in brightness and cheapness, and they're double the size of the chip. But when it comes to efficiency, there's no way to get around that Cree are more efficient. You're going from a 50 volt chip to a 36 volt chip. But my chip's rated for 180 watts, rated for 12,000 looms to max 24,000 looms. So this light is one hell of a bright light, guys. And I'm only running it soft. I have a 120 watt driver with a 700 milliamp ampage. So the voltage is 62 volts running in parallel, 2 chips at 700 milliamps cut in half. Total wattage of the driver's 120. So 120 watts, 700 milliamps cut in half, parallel. So I'm going to show you this driver. I'm going to show you the name of it. I'm going to show you the heat sinks, and I'm going to show you driver, made in Ireland, decent driver, dimmable, correct current driver, 120 volts. It states that it's a 2100 milliamp driver, but like I said, I bought this driver as a mislabeled driver from the dealer, and here I already put a par meter to it, a multimeter to it, and it stated that it was a 65 volt DC driver with 120 watts and 700 milliamps. So I bought it. I only gave them 15 bucks brand new in the box, and it's a great buy. Decent efficiency. The efficiency could be a little high, but I believe it's like an 86% efficient driver. So getting up there in the 90% range is where I like to stay, but for 15 bucks, you can't beat that. The chips get so hot, being a 160 watt chip, that just a regular square 50 watt to 100 watt heat sink was not enough passively to cool it without having a fan, so we got a fan there. Same thing for this side. This heat sink right here is a 115 watt heat sink that with a fan it can go up to 150 watts with a fan. But I just want to keep these chips as cool as possible to keep the longevity as long as possible. So as for the fan power, I'm just using a 19 volt 2 amp max power supply from a Kodak camera that runs in DC. And you're probably wondering, how in the hell are you getting away without blowing these fans? 12 volt fan, 12 volt fan, and I got 19 volt driver power supply powering the fans. Well, my big secret is to go ahead and use this step down DC amp control current and controlled voltage, or constant voltage, current step down. And I used one right here too to split the 20 volts down to 12 volts and the 3 amps max down to something suitable that I like it. And the reason I did that was because if I dim it all the way up to max power, I want to be able to make sure that if the fans are preset at a certain speed, that I have a little bit of extra power to keep them cold. Suppose I wanted to update my driver, I want at least more power and fan cooling than is required. So as far as that goes, these chips outblow my citizenships by at least 5-fold, and they're extremely bright. I will plug this light in and probably connect the video to this video so you can see the light turned on, but this light works great. I paid $25 for the 2 chips put together. That was a steal. I bullshitted with the dealer. He looked out for me. He wanted to send me a sample or 2, so I worked out my choice of chips with these 2 for paying 25 bucks instead of him sending me a sample of a smaller chip. But other than that, I'll put the name of these chips down, and if you're looking for a chip that's going to stand up to a Cree chip and be half the cost and just as bright and even bigger with more chips on it, I suggest you check out my video, look in the description, email me if I forget to put the name of this chip down for any reason, and I'll help you guys get on with this chip, because it's better than Vero as far as I'm concerned, and I believe it's also cost. I'll tell you what I use to keep my thermal management down. I'll show you which driver I use and what device I use to power the fans. These lights are 50 volt chips. They're 4K and one's 55K, both 50 volts, both 3000 milliamps, so that's 3 amp max, and they run right around 1 to 2 amps sweet spot. And this Citizen, so I would love to put it up against this 50 volt Citizen chip, but I ain't had one of them yet to put it up against. But this is Johnny C signing out, and I'll put a link to the video of what this light looks like turned on. Thank you to my subscribers, and thank you to my viewers.